Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Nino, and as you can see from my last video, this game has officially ended, and with the Axis victory in the Pacific side of the board, as Japan has already controlled 6 victory cities, and the Allies won't be able to get back in time to retake Hawaii or nor the Calcutta. So I'll do the recap first. So because I forgot to do that in my last video, so sorry for that. In Japan, I have 2 infantry, 1 artillery, a tank, and 3 airgun. Korea, I have 4 infantry and 1 artillery. In Season 6, I have 2 destroyer, 2 transport, 1 battleship, 2 carrier, with 3 fighters and 1 tactical bomber on it. As you can see, Iwo Jima. And here in Hawaii, I have 1 infantry and 2 artillery on the island. And in Season 26, I have 1 cruiser to transport. In Kerala Island, I have 2 infantry, 1 airgun, and 2 bombers in it. Infantry in Palos Island. Season, 36, I have 2 transport, 2 carrier with 1 fighter and 3 tactical bomber. Season 37, 1 transport, Malaya, 1 infantry and 2 tanks. India, 1 tactical bomber. Season 79, 2 transport, West India, 2 infantry, 2 artillery, 1 tank. And then in Kweichow, I have 1 infantry, 1 artillery, 1 fighter, and 2 tactical bomber. And these are the infantry here. In Hupei, I have 2 infantry, 1 mechanized infantry, and 2 tanks. In Chahar, I have 4 infantry, and in Suiyuan, I have 2 infantry, 3 artillery, 2 tanks, and 1 mechanized infantry. So that's that. Now I'll tell you why the Allies cannot reach Hawaii in their turn, because from here the Anzac have 3 movements for their fleet. They can go 1, 2, 3 up to Season 30. That's the furthest they can move, but they don't have any transport to transport these troops onto the island. But then the Americans had already moved their whole fleet onto the Atlantic side of the board, which they have a huge amount of ships, not so much of ground troops, but they do have the capability of transporting all their grounders, because they have that's 11 transport plus 2 here. So they have the power to do that, but they won't be able to reach Hawaii in a turn, because from this season they need to go 1 there and 2 at most go to Season 12 or 27. They won't be able to reach me, and they don't have the fighter. Even though Anzac have 1 fighter in San Francisco, they cannot attack me because of 1, 2, 3, 4 into that island battle, land battle. But then 5, they don't have any place to land, so they cannot attack me there. So that's why they are already finished because they cannot reach me, the Allies. So now I will go into what we did in this game, especially what Japan did to win this war. So in the first round, I declared war to all the Western Allies, of course except the Soviet Union, because I don't want to attack them. So what I did is that J1 a declaration of war, but I did not attack American fleet in Hawaii Island. I did not do the attack on Pearl Harbor. Instead, I concentrated all my forces down to the South Pacific, especially Philippines, French Indochina, and then the first turn I jumped onto Borneo, And then what I did is, in the first turn, I built a factory in French Indochina, and then the second turn the first term I built a factory in Kansu in Shanghai, so that I can build mechanized infantry and tanks, those fast movers, to push inward into China. Because in this game, you don't have to take control all of China, but in China, on this mainland, you have two victory cities, which are Shanghai and Hong Kong, that the Chinese they can come in and take you, but you need those two cities. You need to at least hold them. But in this game, as you can see, I'm going to just eliminate that problem by taking over all China. So that's my strategy, to kill China as fast as possible. So I built a factory in Kansu. The reason I did not do that, put a factory, even a big factory in Manchuria, is because I don't have the resources to go up north to against Soviet Union. And so if I build a factory there, it will take them too many turns to turn into south. Because in this game, before the start of game, I had connected with my teammate, Axis teammate, and we set a goal is that as Japan, I will take out India as soon as possible. So I need my land forces concentrated on the north region, on the south region, sorry. And so the second term, what I did is exploit any weak points of the Chinese infantry. If they have a open ground, I push in with many forces that they dare to attack me again. But although I concentrate all my forces in Shanxi, but the Chinese, sorry, it seems like I forget there is a flying tiger fighter here. So yeah, they do have that. I just forgot to put them on the board, because I need to set up the whole board by myself, and so there were things that I missed. So yeah, the Chinese infantry came into Shanxi. I remembered that I have like nine units combined with infantry and artillery. They killed at least like 4 or 5 of them. And then they have, I guess, at the end of their battle turn, they have like 4 or 5 infantry as well. But they did not attack me again in Shanxi. They choose to retreat all of them forces into Kansu. So the problem is that, yes, you preserved your forces, but then it gives me like this situation where all the other places, like these 3 territories, are all wide open for me. So I have enough manpower to take them out one by one. But the Chinese will never have the ability to collect these incomes again. So that basically means if you, as Chinese player, you retreat to one region, one territory, that basically means you give up all the other territories, and then Japan will be able to kill you in like one turn. So that's a problem. You want to drag the Japanese infantries and grounders as long as you can, but my opponent chose to retreat really backwards first, and then they concentrated their attack, but they choose not to attack till the end. If they actually eliminate all my forces in Shanxi, I won't be able to send my infantry down this here. They will still have these 3 territory, probably along with Suiyuan and Hubei that they originally controlled. So they will be at least have one more turn to survive. But then, as you can see, next turn, whether they go any direction, they can go, say, that's 9 infantry and the fighter, they can go into Qinghai or Shanxi. Whatever territory they're going in, I will be able to at least say eliminate most of the forces at one turn, and they will not be able to recover again because their fighters have to land back to Kansu. And next turn, I will definitely attack Kansu. So for China, my advice is that you need to actively counterattack and do not be afraid to going south. You need to cooperate with your UK friends. The UK, as their term, there is nothing really wrong for them to build up in India. But the problem is that if you only build up in India with all your infantries, you won't be able to counterattack anymore. So what I did here is second turn, I use my transport from Borneo, from Philippines, to jump on all three other money islands. We call these islands are money islands because they are expensive. They can contribute a lot to your economy. So in second turn, I take control all of these force money. Of course, I only take Malaya in this is the fourth turn, right? So I take control most of these monies, and then in the third turn, it is almost to say I'm lucky because my configuration on the board is that I have two transport here that they can go 1 and 2 attack India, and I have all my forces, all my air force concentrated in French Indochina because I built a factory and the airfield here. So India was within range of my airport from French Indochina. So what I did was send all my air force there, which was like, I guess, 10-ish fighters and tactical bombers with 2 strategic bombers, with only 4 ground troops into India. But India at the time they have, I believe, at least 12 infantry and several more AA guns and several other things. But the problem is that the UK player chose not to put their fighters back into India. They were retreated to, I believe, in Egypt, and then next turn they going to Moscow over there. So the problem is that without any fighter provided for defense, the infantries only defend at 2. Although you have a lot of them, that doesn't mean you can attack. They can hit me as hard as you have, say, even 1 fighter. The fighter defended 4, which is the most valuable defensive unit in this whole game. So if you say only put 1 or 2 fighters there, I will be probably losing more than what I've already lost. In the attack in India, I've already lost like, I can't remember, 7 planes in total. So that was huge losses for me. But then if you put some more fighters in there, I probably would lost almost my entire air force with only 1 tank left over. So what I did is my objective is to take out India first, but then the primary objective is take control of Money Island as soon as possible because those are the vital resources Japan need to have. If Japan wants to become a really good in a good position in this game, you need to take as much money as you can, and those 4 islands are the most valuable territory in this whole game board. In total, they have 15 IPCs. If you also count 2 more from Philippines and 3 more from Malaya, that's 20 IPCs in this region. So for Japan, you need to control of these territory as soon as possible and also hold them as soon as possible. As you can see, Anzac is really near from these islands. They can build their navy really fast if they choose to go with, say, 1 battleship. But even they did not go with battleship in this game, they still had already 3 cruisers and 2 destroyers, which is a lot to attack and defend. And then the next turn, if they choose to build fighters, and then next turn they build carrier or battleships, it will be a really a huge navy for me to counterattack. Because after take out India, as we can see, we only need 6 cities to win. So up there north, because the US choose to pull out from Pacific entirely, so they retreat. They retreat all their naval force from Hawaii back to San Francisco. There's nothing wrong with that. Definitely, the US need time and money to build up their navy and come back again. But the problem is that after that round, they're retreating. They built 8 submarines, which, as you can see over here, that's 8 submarines, which is perfect for the Pacific naval warfare. But then with those 8 submarines, the US player did not send them out to attack my fleet, or at least to say go into South Pacific to say cooperate with Anzac. As if they do that, they will have a huge navy down there that can threaten all my territory over here, which is vital for Japan. But then the submarines are good at attack, vulnerable at defense, but the US player chose to move their entire fleet to Atlantic, which, as you can see, Germany doesn't really have any fleet anymore. Although as you can see, the Italy is doing excellent job building their navy up, even with a carrier. But that doesn't mean you need to have eight destroyer to kill those things, and you've already built 10 destroyer in Atlantic Sea. So you see you are doing it overkill. That because the Axis really don't have that strong navy in the Europe side, and even with that, even the Italy now currently have a carrier. They won't have that much money to build up their navy as fast as US can or UK can. So US don't really need to do that to abandon all their fleet from Pacific back to Atlantic to do that. They only need to build, say, 10 destroyers are already pretty impressive and good at the attack and defend. You don't need to do that. So I really don't recommend, because in this game, if you left Japan alone, this is what's gonna happen. Japan take control everything in the Pacific side. So although this is a big game, and because it's a big game, so some technical errors can probably not so. It doesn't have that huge influence on the overall strategy or the overall situation on the board. Would the U.S. choose to remove their oil fleet from Pacific side and going to Atlantic, which basically shows Japan that, well, we don't care. We don't really need to defend here. You can just do whatever you want because we want to kill Germany first. There's nothing wrong with KGV strategy, kill Germany first strategy. It's absolutely fantastic because Germany spend almost all their resources onto the Eastern Front. As you can see, Germany and Russia both have almost 30 divisions of infantry at the front line. Germany also have 16 tanks and 8 tanks over there, with a large number of air force coming from Europe. Of course, the Russians build up their forces. So back to Western Europe, Germany doesn't really have a lot ground troops, and although the Germany will be building their ground forces in Western Europe to defend, but US and UK has a overall economic advantage on there. So KGV is a good strategy. Probably not even KGV. Kill Italy first is on another option. But again, you don't need that much navy to do that. And so that's my critiques about the allies in this game, is that you don't need to put all your effort in one theater, because if you do that, Japan will have a really good time building up its navy and their ground forces to go after places. And so, what I recommend to do is that, because in this game, uh, one service naval ship can block the entire enemy navy. So what I usually would do is that I will concentrate all my U.S. Fleet in Hawaii, and even I can send my Anzac fleet up there north to defend Hawaii. And then I will put at least one destroyer in Midway as a picket line to defend, because as you can see, with the naval base, Japan can go 1, 2, and 3. This is the shortest line to attack Hawaii. And then if you put anything except a destroyer, except a submarine or a transport, any naval units in this season can block Japan's direct hit on your victory city, Honolulu. And so as US, when you see Japan doing stuff in the southern Pacific, they're not going after you in the northern part, you know their strategy is to take control Money Island first. Then they're probably going to either go with India or Sydney. So the reason I choose to go with India is that because I can build factory directly on the mainland to go after them. With the problem of Anzac, although Anzac doesn't get that much money and they have barely anything to defend on the ground, and also they have only one small factory there, so that they can only build 3 units at a time. India has a big factory that can build at most 10 units every turn. Although that's even more units to concern about, but also I can use my transport and the factory to shuffle my units back and forth, back and forth. But with the problem of Anzac, the supply line is just way too long, because normally I think the rule doesn't say it, but we won't put factory onto a, say, an island, because every time you build anything on an island, you need to build the transport as well. So that's more cost, the more time spent. So as the Allies player, if you see Japan's going after Money Island and then going to India first, then you know you need to. They have already controlled 5 victory cities, and then now you know their targets is either Hawaii or Sydney. Because again, I said the supply line between mainland Japan, mainland China and mainland Asia to Sydney is way too long, and they cannot reach Australia in a turn. The best option for the Japan is to go off to Hawaii, which they can do it by just one move, 1, 2, 3, there. So as US player, if you don't want to lose a game, you need to defend Hawaii as strong as you can, and you need to connect with Australia to do the same thing. You need to defend those 2 cities as fierce as possible. So that is my idea about Japan, and how you can, as the Allies player, you need to keep an eye on Japan, because they can really be a beast if you let them alone. So because my Axis teammates are playing on the western side, there's nothing really much I can say about that. I just want to remind everyone that the Soviet currently has way more infantry than the Soviet Union has, than the Germany has. Sorry. So in total, I believe in all this region, Russia has almost 60 infantries, but for Germany they only have 30-ish infantry up there. So I know infantry only defended 2, but with that much number of infantries, it's really gonna be a hard time for the German to kill all that infantry. So No Limit, as our player for Germany, emphasized heavily on tanks. There's nothing wrong with it. I completely agree with that. But the fact is that even though you have a strong tanks and air force, I don't know if that's gonna be enough to kill Russia in a turn. Because from now on, they can just build several more infantry a turn, and then they can start to build, say, tanks or fighters. So because I have much more experience playing Japan than Germany, it's always my question about how can you kill Russia all by Germany itself, even though you have the Italy at the south to help you, they cannot cross the Turkish Strait into 100 to attack those southern borders. I really don't know how can Germany actually take out Moscow. At least because, as you can see, I'm a new player. In fact, this is my first time to finish a Global 40 game. I really don't know if there is. I've never seen people to kill Moscow in my gaming group. Because for this game, Global 40 is a really huge game, and we have never reached that far. We only played a game for like 4 turns, which, of course, I was playing Japan and both Germany, and I was like, I don't know what should I buy and what should I do as Germany. Should I attack Soviet Union in the first turn, or should I declare war after turn 3? And where should I go? Should I go north or go south? I don't know. So, yeah. So if I want to sum this up, is that there were several key mistakes that the Allies made. Is that first, China does not counterattack as much as they possibly can, I think, in my opinion though. And then the UK only built more infantry there, and they did not build any aggressive weapons there in India, so that they cannot counterattack Japan's attacks. That this will result in their loss of Burma Road, which was vital for the Chinese infantries. And then the problem with Anzac is that they sent all their fighters up north with the American fleet. Nothing wrong with that, but then the problem is that you fly all your fighters up to Quebec, onto the European side. So again, my point is that the Allies are overkill in Europe side. There was nothing there that much for the Allies to do in the say the Baltic Sea or the Mediterranean Sea, because the Axis don't really have a strong navy there. But the problem with Japan is that Japan has a huge fleet, and if you don't control it, if you don't have any influence on them, they can build it's just wildly. So for now, I have, as you can see, four carriers and 3 battleships. That's all my capital ships. Although I have this fleet down here, which is really far away from what I should be doing. But it's the end of the game, so I just want to kill something more, and to see if the Allies can hit me, and they did. It was just pretty good for them. I'm just giving kudos to those sailors that actually participated in these battles. And so, as the Allies, you don't want to completely ignore Japan, although I understand your strategy is to go with kill Germany first or kill Italy first. But then you cannot completely forget about Japan, because in this game, Japan can really be a beast. So remember that. Don't ignore any side of the board. This is a global game. You need to concentrate all your focus on both sides. Even though for the Allies you only need to build navy there, you don't have to actively go after Japan at the beginning of the game. you need to create tension, you need to create pressure for Japan, so Japan knows someday allies will come after me, so I need to build a bigger fleet, and then they will spend less money on the ground units, which they need because they need to control those victory cities. So I think that's that. If there's nothing more, I believe this will be the last video in this whole series. If my Axis teammate or the Allies opponent want to do their recap videos, that will be pretty cool. But I will put my my last video, Japan's video, and this recap video both into the playlist that I created for this whole game, and I will change the description of that playlist that this war is officially ended today, which is February 10th, 2019. I believe that's that. So there you go. Have a good day, guys, and I hope to see you again soon, because we are organizing the next YouTube war game with some other people. So that's that. Hope you enjoy this video and this series, and see you next time. Cheers.